For the first time in years, I bought a new airsoft gun. And I'm not sure if I regret it or not yet. As all of you historical milsimmers know, the M16a2 is very hard to come by on the market right now. You don't want to get a cheap one like Double Bell, and GMPs are near impossible to find. So when this popped up and sold out less than 48 hours later, I picked it up pretty quickly. And then I did a little more looking and kind of got worried about what I was going to receive. In all plain box glory is an ENC M16a2-ish. And yeah, this thing came in the most generic basic packaging. The box is oversized and it's got foam on the top and bottom, an instruction manual, and then a foam insert to hold the replica. Which, speaking of, is right here. Does anyone else remember the days when you used to get on a jamming rod and speed loader with your guns? That's when Airsoft peaked. Oh yeah, you get a high cap mag too, but I already took that out and I don't even know where it is. But this right here is the EMG M16a2. Again, in the intro I said ish because there are some things that make this not an A2, but we'll get there. While this is out of stock at the time of filming, it did go for $280, and I'm sure with all the price hikes and everything in every industry, it's gonna go up from there. But you have an aluminum body, a plastic handguard and stock, a metal barrel, and a plastic orange flash hider. For all intents and purposes, this is an entry to mid-range AEG. This thing is marked with M16a2 markings. On this side, you have Colt AR-15, property of US government, M16a2, cal 5.56mm. And then right below that, you have the ENC markings, which is just its serial number. Also, on the underside of the lower receiver, above the trigger, with a safe, semi, and the ugliest part about this entire thing, an auto. That's right, the M16a2s did not come with an auto. That was the A3, used by the US Navy and other small select groups. The A2 had a burst function. So for this to say auto on it is pretty disappointing. The other majorly disappointing part comes with the front end. This handguard is ridiculously plasticky feeling. It's a polymer and it doesn't flex too much, but it just doesn't have a real good feel to it. And that barrel has these weird rib lines. I know it is a heat reinforced barrel on the real one and is larger in diameter, but from the pictures I can see, it doesn't have these very pronounced ribs. Maybe they're a bit more flush on the real one, but I don't know, just doesn't look right to me. Which is why these are going to be a couple of the first things we change out in a later segment of this video. But now let's talk about the internals of this. That's where we get to things that I actually really like. This has the new e-shooter MOSFET, which gives it a bunch of features. Reliability, of course, is to be tested long term, but the trigger response is snappy on this. The ability to adjust precocking and active braking is a nice touch, and it also can be set to burst mode. This MOSFET, like a lot of standard MOSFETs on the market, gives you the ability to switch that full auto into a burst, or semi into burst, or binary, whatever you want really. But unfortunately, none of that is detailed in the manual at all. You actually have to go to the website for that. Before we chrono and range this thing out, let's see how it sounds. I've got an 11-1 LiPo battery with a Dean's connector, which luckily this thing comes included with. That is a nice thing to see in 2025. Connect that up, stuff the battery back in, and let's switch to semi. And then full. For an AEG in 2025 at this kind of price range, exactly what you'd expect. It's not gonna be a super flashy speed QB build, but you know, it's gonna be semi-decent. There's no weird whining or grinding I hear in the system, and I'm not disappointed. It is an airsoft toy, it's not a gas blowback, but it's an AEG for a sub $300 gun, not too bad. And I just can't wait any longer, so let me show you a couple of very simple upgrades and external furniture swaps that you can do to make this thing look a little bit more realistic. First things first, let's deal with that flash hider. This has a grub screw on it, but it's not glued on. Standard 14mm negative threads make it really easy to find whatever flash hider you want, which is why we're gonna go for a nice steel one. This thing is slightly grayed out and is just a really solid piece. So I'm going to screw that on, and bam, there you go. The next thing we're gonna do is swap out these handguards. I was very happy to find that standard surplus USGI handguards actually fit perfectly on this. So let's pop them out. Now I will say the ENC handguards do fit very, very stiffly. You have to pull down that delta ring quite a bit to be able to angle any of the handguards out. Let's do the top first. All right. And then the bottom. A detail that I did like is that they included the triangle end cap for the handguard. It's not like the A4 or whatever that has the circular one. Good little detail there that I appreciated. course they had to make the markings incorrect though. It's gonna bother me. So anyway, whoops, I'm not even in. There we go. Let's pop that top one in. And then the bottom one in, and bam, there you go. It was that easy, and this original furniture looks so much better. I'd love to get a real A2 stock on here, but that's something I'll have to deal with at another time. I did notice that this shiny front handguard set was common in photos, but the stocks even had more of a matte black look to it. So maybe I'll swap it out for an original stock as well, but for now, it doesn't look too bad. And it's not like rickety or too flimsy or anything. The last thing is to throw a proper sling on here. The standard USGI long black silent sling works perfectly. We're gonna loop this sucker around. And I am righty, so I want this to go this way. All right, and when you pop a magazine in, you've got something that looks way more realistic than the crappy airsoft toy you were holding in your hands moments ago. Shout out to my Patreon subscribers who saw this thing like weeks ago, but didn't spoil it for anyone. I appreciate you guys. Exclusive videos are on there as well. And I will say these handguards can be somewhat challenging to track down at a decent price nowadays. Don't pay too much for them. They often come in pretty beat up shape. I think this set cost me like 40 bucks total, and even to me, that's a bit of a lot. But regardless, let's check out the FPS of this gun right here. I'm going to be loading up 0.32 gram BBs. And again, shooting with an 11-1 LiPo. Sorry, I had to take the flak jacket off. It was getting hot out there. But yeah, this thing is shooting about 326 FPS with a 0.32 gram BB, which is roughly 1.5 joules, and about 400 FPS with a 0.2. So this thing should be perfectly field legal. And in fact, I did take this to a field, but I didn't use it. One of my buddies who was doing a 90s kit at the GZA Retro Day that I ran ended up using this thing for me and said he loved it. It shot laser beams, and I can absolutely attest to that. It's very hard to capture on video outside, but we're easily getting 150 feet, straight shot, no arcing of the BB whatsoever. This hop-up adjusts beautifully, and you can get perfectly reasonable shots at a perfectly reasonable range for a $200 to $300 airsoft gun. I wish I could have tested this at a longer distance, but you know, overall, I'm not too disappointed with the internal performance of this. If you guys want to see me explore all the MOSFET options and everything in a future video, let me know, because I would absolutely do it, but for right now, I think I'm just going to leave it in its stock configuration. I've gotten to the point in my airsoft career that I don't care necessarily how the guns perform, I just want them to work and work reliably. I more care about the impression and, you know, having a gun that looks right. That's just my take on things. With all that being said, thank you for checking out the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the overview and the slight modification how to make it look better. This is the Gear.Locker. We'll see you guys not invading Panama. I've used that in way too many of them. I don't know, just be good in the 80s. Come on, do the kits right. Oh my God.